China's got a plan to take over Taiwan, not with bombers and missiles, but with money. Although if that fails, it could still use bombers and missiles. Welcome to China Uncensored, I'm Chris Chappell. China has made no secret about the fact that it wants to take over Taiwan. China says it wants to do this peacefully, if possible, but it hasn't ruled out force either. The Chinese Communist Party calls this reunification and insists that Taiwan is part of China, which, as you know, is a load of hooey, since Taiwan has never been under the control of the Chinese Communist Party. In the 1940s, there was a civil war in China between the communists and the nationalists. The communists, led by Mao Zedong, were victorious and took over mainland China in 1949. The nationalists, led by Chiang Kai-shek, fled to the island of Taiwan, where they established an independent government. And they've been an independent government ever since, for over 70 years. But that seriously hurt the Chinese Communist Party's pride, so much so that it wrote so-called reunification into its constitution, which says the party shall work continuously to strengthen the unity of all the Chinese people, including compatriots in the Hong Kong and Macau special administrative regions, and in Taiwan, as well as overseas Chinese. So here we are, with China working hard to take over Taiwan. Now, China knows that if it takes Taiwan by force, the United States and its allies will likely come to Taiwan's defense. That's because America's Taiwan Relations Act of 1979 says the United States will resist any resort to force or other forms of coercion that would jeopardize the security or the social or economic system of the people of Taiwan. More recently, Joe Biden has said several times that the U.S. would defend Taiwan if China were to attack.
China just tested a hypersonic missile. What will you do to keep up with them militarily, and can you vow to protect Taiwan?
Yes and yes.
You're saying that the United States would come to Taiwan's defense if China attacked?
Yes, we have a commitment to do that.
Are you willing to get involved militarily to defend Taiwan if it comes to that?
Yes.
You are?
That's the commitment we made.
The U.S. has arguably the biggest and most experienced military in the world, and China's not too eager to take the U.S. head on. So it wants to find another way, short of war, to get Taiwan back. Like Sun Tzu wrote in The Art of War, to subjugate the enemy's army without doing battle is the highest of excellence. And China is trying to do exactly that. Subjugate Taiwan without doing battle. I'll tell you how it's trying to do that right after this quick commercial break. Welcome back. If I just disappeared and reappeared again, it's because YouTube didn't show you an ad there. That's just one of the ways we're constantly being demonetized, which is why we have to rely on support from viewers like you to keep the lights on and the show going. You can support us for as little as $1 an episode over on our crowdfunding site Patreon, and you can even set a monthly limit. That's patreon.com/China Uncensored. So, China wants to take over Taiwan, but it doesn't want to start a war with the U.S. And one way it's trying to do that is through economic coercion. We recently covered how China gave Taiwan a sweetheart trade deal back in 2010. And now China is Taiwan's biggest trading partner, which means Taiwan has become completely reliant on its enemy. Not a smart move, Taiwan, not a smart move. Now, China is also hoping to integrate some of Taiwan's islands with mainland China. The thing about Taiwan, which is actually officially called the Republic of China, is that it doesn't just control the island of Taiwan, it controls other islands as well. As you can see by this map, some of Taiwan's islands are closer to China than they are to Taiwan. Here I am standing on the island of Jinmen, with China in the background. As you can see, the mainland is just a few miles away and a lot closer than Taiwan. Which is why last month, China's Central Committee and State Council rolled out plans for a cross-Strait integrated development demonstration zone. What does that mean? It's basically a plan to quietly entice Taiwanese citizens to join China separately from their democratically elected government. The idea is if you can't get the government to join you, well, maybe you can get the people who voted for that government to join you. China's plan is to integrate the economies and infrastructure of these islands with the mainland. It includes providing supplies of electricity and gas and the construction of bridges between the islands and mainland China. The vice chairman of China's National Development and Reform Commission also talked about building high-speed trains to the islands. Matsu residents in the Chinese city of Fuzhou would be treated the same as Fuzhou residents in terms of social security programs. And Jinmen residents living in Xiamen would be treated the same as Xiamen residents as well. All Taiwanese citizens living in Fujian province would no longer need to submit temporary residence registration and would be encouraged to purchase property there. Basically, the plan wants island residents to move to the mainland, and if they stay, they would become dependent on China for energy supplies, which China can cut off at any time, just like it did to the internet earlier this year. What a great neighbor. I can't imagine why China and Taiwan don't get along. The new zone would be in the Fujian province, which is the closest province to the Taiwanese islands of Jinmen and Matsu. Basically, the CCP wants to use these islands as a weather balloon to see how easy it would be to integrate the rest of Taiwan with China. Now, as you can imagine, Taiwan's government wasn't too keen on this plan. It rejected it as a politicized cash grab aimed at boosting China's spiraling economy. Now, that was Taiwan's central government, which is controlled by the Democratic Progressive Party, or DPP. The DPP has opposed any sort of unification agenda with China and has been trying to wean Taiwan's economy off of China since it came to power in 2016. However, the residents of Jinmen and Matsu are majority supporters of the DPP's rival, the Kuomintang. The Kuomintang Party is in favor of more integration with China, especially economic integration. That may seem strange given the Kuomintang's history of fighting the communists during the Civil War, but hey, that was 70 years ago. Some things do change with time. In fact, the leading presidential candidate for the Kuomintang has proposed turning Jinmen into a cross-Strait economic pilot zone. If this sounds familiar, it's because the plan is very similar to China's integration plan. The thing is, Taiwan will be voting for a new president in 2024. So some say China is using the carrot and stick strategy to influence Taiwan ahead of a key election. The carrot? Economic integration and offers of equal treatment. Basically, Chinese citizenship to Jinmen and Matsu residents. The stick? Well, Taiwan said that ahead of the release of the plan, a Chinese aircraft carrier and around 24 Chinese warships were spotted gathering in waters near Taiwan. China wants to make voters think twice about voting for the DPP. My favorite state-run media, the Global Times, made this pretty clear by saying the DPP was standing against the interests of the Taiwanese people by poo-pooing the cross-Strait integration plan, and at the same time trying to push cross-Strait's confrontation while ignoring the safety and security of Taiwan compatriots. Yes, because it's the DPP threatening Taiwan's security. Definitely not all those Chinese warships. And missiles, which are totally not in any way there to influence the election or encourage Taiwanese people to move to the mainland to prop up China's failing economy. Speaking of economic hardship, China Uncensored only exists because of funding from fans like you, who contribute as little as $1 an episode on patreon.com/China Uncensored. I call them the China Uncensored 50-cent army, and as a thank you, I answer their questions at the end of episodes. Today's question comes from James Wahlberg. Has there been any signs of tofu dreg construction in Belt and Road countries? Oh my, James, has there ever been? A Chinese-built bridge collapsed in Kenya 2 weeks after it was inspected by the president. In fact, the world over, all those Belt and Road projects are falling apart. This Wall Street Journal article lists a bunch of them. You should check it out. And yet so many countries sell out their own interests, especially Taiwan, because of the promise of Chinese money. But to get what you pay for, and made in China is not known for quality. Thanks for your question and your support, James. If you want to join the China Uncensored 50 Cent Army, click that orange button. And if you want to see how Taiwan can beat China, click on this video. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.